Unless you understand the points that I share in this video, you shouldn't even consider an RRSP meltdown because you'll just get something wrong and cause more harm than good. This is part of our 5-video series breaking down the RRSP meltdown, the good, the bad, who it's for and who it's not for, as well as case studies, so that you can really understand what else you need to consider when you're looking at the RRSP meltdown. Really, it's a series to show you who should really consider this and who is wasting their time even thinking about it. Hey, I'm Hervin. I'm a certified financial planner, registered retirement consultant. My formal education is accounting and finance. I run a fee-for-service financial planning practice here in Calgary that focuses on serving pre-retirees. Essentially, we help successful savers and investors spend their money in retirement. That's really what retirement income planning is. It's mindfully turning your assets into income. My practice serves everyone within that retirement window. However, the concepts in this video really become more powerful for those who have anywhere from $1 to $2 million in their retirement savings. First off, I don't like opening videos like that where it talks about me so much. It feels so self-absorbed. I just share that because I hope this gives me some credibility. And that's important because not everything that I'll talk about here will align with how you may be thinking about the RRSP meltdown. So first, let me give you the basics. What is an RRSP meltdown? An RRSP meltdown is a fancy way of prioritizing your RRSPs, RIFs, or other registered accounts as an early source of income in retirement. There's other ways to look at RRSP meltdowns, such as withdrawing more than you need. And there's even ways to do this with a loan. That's discussed later. First, let's talk about why this even matters at all. Remember that until you withdraw from these registered accounts, everything is growing tax deferred. That's what makes these accounts so powerful. It can grow anything within it without any tax drag. For example, if you're able to earn a 7% annual return, you benefit from all of that growth versus if it was in a non-registered account. Depending on your portfolio allocation and other sources of taxable income, the after-tax return on a non-registered account earning 7% could actually just be as low as 4 or 5%. So while your account is growing, until this time that you withdraw, the CRA and the overspending governments have been eagerly waiting and salivating at the wealth that you've built up. Now, you can keep deferring your withdrawals from these accounts until you're 72 years old. That's because at 71, RRSPs must be converted into a RIF, LIRAs must be converted into LIFs, and so on. These essentially operate the exact same way, except the new accounts now have RMDs, required minimum distributions. That means even if you don't need it and you have other sources of income to live off of in retirement, you do not have a choice. It's finally time to pay the piper and make withdrawals and pay taxes. At that point, you do not have as much control over your withdrawals. You must meet the minimum based on your age, or you can opt to use your spouse's age if they're younger than you. Now, let's go back then to the idea of the RRSP meltdown. Essentially, by using the RRSP sooner, you are deregistering your pre-tax assets early before you're met with these mandatory withdrawals. You can pay some of your taxes early at a lower tax rate than if you were making these withdrawals based on the minimum requirements, or worse yet, based on a single withdrawal for your estate when you pass. So let me elaborate on the estate consequences first, because most people really forget about this. When you come to be with the Lord, all of your earthly obligations have to be settled first, right? And nothing is more earthly than taxes, am I right? Now, let's pretend you and your spouse both retire with $750,000 each and you're 65 right now. That $750,000 is in your RSPs. Your lifestyle does not really require you to touch your RSPs at all because you have other sources of income. Now, let's pretend you get to 71 and one of you passes. At that point, the survivor will get the RSPs or the RIF if you converted it early without triggering taxes. But what if you are single or widowed? You would have no spouse to roll the assets over to. Let's pretend that all you have is the $750,000 in your RSP. You leave that alone and do nothing until you're 71 years old. At that point, it gets converted to a RIF. Your mandatory minimums start the following year when you're 72 years old. If that grows at 5% and you make no other withdrawals aside from the requirements, if you get to age 85, your terminal RIF balance, your estate balance on your RIF is $796,000 or just shy of $800,000. If you put that into 2024 context, that's equivalent to leaving about $525,000 to your estate. The tax on this is not small in any way whatsoever. Let's take a look at this free online calculator right here. If you plug in $525,000 as other income, total tax, $213,132. E&Y's calculator, for just the sake of double checking, it's $213,131. So within a dollar for rounding error or rounding changes, tax steps, they would have the exact same at $213,132. So you leave behind a $525,000 estate, but the net benefit to your heirs is $312,709. If you split this amongst different beneficiaries, that means the CRA actually had a bigger share of your RSP than your family did. Quick plug, when we work with our clients, we do not start with giving any recommendations until we've taken the time to break down their internal money value. We cover all of that. If that's something that you're interested in, click the links below. Consider applying for a free consultation where we walk you through our money values conversation. So how does the RRSP Meltdown change this? The best way to educate you on this is a simplified case study. So let's meet our victims. Our make-believe clients, because they will be our running case study going forward in the following videos. Let's meet Hope and Frank. They're both 65 right now. In this scenario, they're both eligible for the average CPP and all of the old age security. Their RSPs are even at $750,000 each, and they have both maxed out their TFSA rooms with balances of $110,000 each, and they also have $100,000 each in their non-registered accounts. As far as other assets are concerned, they have a paid-off home worth $900,000. Let's pretend that they are comfortable living off of $72,000 per year or just $6,000 a month after taxes adjusted to inflation for the rest of their life. Now, when we work with our clients, we always start with the baseline. My hope is that this isn't unique to us because that's part of the CFP standards. It's to create a baseline scenario and show the clients where they would be if they employed their current strategies without any intervention or recommendation from a financial planner. The conventional approach is typically use the non-registered accounts first, then the TFSA, and finally, save the RRSP for last. Let's use that as our baseline withdrawal sequence. So the first question we should answer when you're creating or you're reviewing a financial planning scenario is, do they have enough resources to meet their simplified spending goal? And based on our default assumptions, it is feasible. If they both lived until 100, they would not run out of money. And in fact, at 85, they would have an estate of $4,138,969, with the primary home accounting for about $1.4 million of that, with a total estate tax of $647,757. Most of that tax is attributable to the RRSP, which is $1,472,301. There's also a $220,000 balance on the non-registered accounts. The TFSAs and the primary home do not attract any taxes. So if they were left to their own devices and just followed all of the defaults imposed by the government, the common financial advice that is swirling around by default, they'll make it. Now, my planning tool allows me to see the lifetime tax attributable to these decisions. If they follow the defaults, they would pay $744,167 in lifetime taxes. The estate tax at 85 for their baseline scenario is $647,757. Now let's look at our first modification, or as I call it, the lazy meltdown. All we will change here is the sequence of withdrawals. Instead of non-registered, then TFSA, then RRSPs, we will do the RRSPs first, non-registered funds second, and finally, saving the tax-free saving account for last. Everything else beyond that stays the same. Same rate of returns, same government benefit uptake. So in this scenario, the plan actually still works. They will not run out of money. But here's where it gets better. The total lifetime tax is reduced to $680,670, a tax savings of $63,497. Now let's move on to the estate comparison. At 85, there is a $533,191 tax on their estate. Still huge, but that is a $114,566 improvement in estate taxes compared to the default scenario. Now, I can stop here, and it looks like drawing from RSPs first is a no-brainer. But let's talk about a few reasons why this is an incomplete comparison. See, if we review these two scenarios side by side, both of them accomplish the same spending goal of $6,000 a month after tax and adjusting to inflation for as long as Hope and Frank are alive. If both scenarios reach the same goal, why not pick the lower total income and lower estate tax? See, here's the problem with this. Not everybody you meet, and you may be included, not everyone really cares about their estate. It's blunt, but it's true. That's just the reality of it. If your goal is to pay the lowest income tax while you are alive, and you don't really care about the net estate benefit or the total tax on your estate, deferring the RRSP withdrawals isn't that grave of an issue. That's especially true if you have a shorter life expectancy. Look at this. The cumulative income tax savings is not really improved by the lazy meltdown until age 84. Now, coincidentally, most RRSP meltdown discussions show a breakdown at age 85, which is the blended life expectancy. Now, this may be worth clarifying for those with health issues in their family history. If you're not going to live that long and you don't care about the estate, the RRSP meltdown isn't that high of a priority. The next cautionary piece here is directed to those who are charitably inclined. You can donate your RRSPs and RIFs to a registered charity or educational institution and receive tax credits. This is especially important because you can have a super donation. I don't really think that's the true definition of that, the real word for it. But there's a super donation at the year of death. I call it a super donation because typically the amounts eligible for donations can be limited per tax year. However, when you pass, some of these limitations are lifted, and you can even make adjustments in your tax filings. So even if you have a massive tax-deferred liability in your RSPs, if you have no children or family that you want to leave your estate to, and you can't foresee yourself spending your RSPs in your lifetime, you can assign the RRSPs to your charity or institution of choice by directly designating them as a beneficiary on the account. The tax credits will offset most of the tax liability from the RRSP. This works best if you only have one charitable beneficiary that you really care about. If the primary benefit of the meltdown in the early years is a lower tax on the estate, then the charitable planning can also do that. But it's done with a specific goal in mind. I share that now as a 301 piece of information. It's not the most basic thing in the world. However, I want you to explore where else you can direct your resources. Now, I have been deliberate when I call this first version of the meltdown the lazy meltdown, since the only thing you do is spend your RSP first. You have to spend money anyway, right? But what if you go beyond spending? What if you withdraw more than you need to spend, and reinvest that excess either in a tax-free savings account or a non-registered account? What if we also look at the other aspects in your retirement income planning? We haven't even combined the meltdown yet with managing your government benefits. We will cover that in the next videos. Be sure to subscribe, like this video, so that you get notified when I release the next ones. Happy planning and happy retirement. God bless you. See you soon. Bye. You can watch this video here, and we also have information on how you can work with us in the links below. Bye.